Meghan Markle gave us a master lecture in gaslighting on a silver platter if we ever needed one. Even her most forgiving observers are blinking in shock at this move. Meghan has now so badass established herself as the ultimate investigator of truth. Yes, the same woman who demands honesty has a public narrative, with more plot changes than a soap opera during the day. From everyone else with a straight face and unwavering conviction, she actually went on record requesting that people speak the truth about her rather than in jest. In the meantime, she's out there making up stories so outrageous that Netflix wouldn't even consider them to be fiction. Let's now discuss that notorious Father's Day video, the one that was intended to evoke sentiments of warmth and nostalgia, but it drew more questions than praise. It was intended to showcase her family life in order to put an end to the rumors, but it might have had the opposite effect. People began pointing up odd discrepancies right away. What was the precise number of Archies in this video? In one footage, a youngster had total distinct facial characteristics from one another, not to mention the quantity of lies that are out there. It would be humorous if it weren't so serious. The worst part is that it appears the royal family may finally stop being nice. Archie and Elizabeth could be removed from the line of succession as a result of a move that the palace's sorcery clothes are now speculating about. That's war, not just symbolic, and Meghan, for all her showmanship, did not anticipate this. Even she didn't anticipate the monarchy retaliating so forcefully after years of pushing limits, twisting facts, and playing with perceptions. And you know what? This time they might actually do it. Let's go back a moment. Recall Meghan's statement that she was essentially a prisoner in the Fakrai. People did the arithmetic, but she created a picture of royal life that sounded more like solitary confinement, with no access to her passport, driver's license, or car keys. The covert excursions to Canada, the baby shower in New York, and the travels to Ibiza with Elton John. The secret trips to Italy while purportedly confined. Therefore, how did she manage to get a passport if she didn't have one? Accumulate more frequent travel miles than a traveling DJ, and this is where things start to get shady. Meghan is now spreading the rumor that the royal family approved of her lying about carrying Archie, that they somehow participated in this enormous cover-up. Consider that for a moment. She's not merely claiming that the pregnancy was a hoax. She claims that the palace made her make up the story that they were complicit. They were involved in the largest royal prank in decades. This is a deflection at the nuclear level, not merely desperate. The boldness with which she has doubled down is what's crazy. For example, the emotional moment in the podcast when she states, "I just want people to tell the truth about me," coming from someone who has reportedly had several product deliveries were evaded using fraudulent social media profiles, manipulated photos, and stated that her father had passed away, although he is still alive and pleading for a reconciliation. Although Oprah has discreetly moved on, the woman literally had 28 producers resign from her Spotify arrangement. Now she is going all out in public once more, releasing what appears to be pre-recorded medical footage from the pandemic to evidence that she gave birth. The time frame is off, but the rules were rigorous. In Meghan's universe, the facts are constantly changed to fit the fairy tale, even if partners were not permitted in delivery rooms. The palace has had enough and isn't going to remain silent this time, so this is only the beginning. The fact that people are noticing Meghan's behavior isn't the only issue. She keeps underestimating the number of receipts available on the internet. The woman once said she had no control over anything, but somehow she was able to arrange high-end Netflix scenes with designer clothes and camera angles that were flattering enough to trick Vogue's Father's Day video. For instance, it wasn't just badly timed, it was full of awkward inserts and recycled Netflix footage, which some viewers thought possibly even a kid of another royal. One baby's likeness to Princess Eugenie's son has been brought up by others, and when the editing is that bad, it begins to look more like damage control than narrative. However, Meghan's implication that the palace had authorized the entire stunt, which included the faked prosthetic bump and phony pregnancy, was when the true Watt mayhem broke out. Every single photo opportunity that they not only accepted the falsehood, but encouraged it, is such a strong indictment that it has the potential to destroy the few remaining connections she has with the royal family. However, Meghan presents it as though she were giving a TED lecture, as though the organization coerced her into complying. The message is unambiguous. They forced me to lie, but I didn't want to. It's difficult to overlook how frequently her stories don't line up. Considering the facts, for instance, Meghan stated during her Oprah interview that she was never invited to pose for the customary post-birthday photo op by the media. However, according to palace sources, that's not how it happened. Meghan apparently refused to comply until her demands were satisfied. Archie should specifically be given a title without a photo, which lessens the impact of her subsequent claims of feeling excluded, victimization, and more akin to leverage, not to mention how frequently Meghan uses the "they were racist" card without ever providing concrete instances. It is a huge allegation to say that the royals were against Archie having a title because they were worried about his skin tone. However, there is never a name, a clear source, or any ambiguous wording that suggests that. Additionally, she conveniently backpedals when pushed, allowing the general public to complete the gaps. That's not telling the truth. Planting landmines is what that is. For his part, Harry appears to be caught in this web. At one point, he publicly acknowledged that if it weren't for Meghan, he would never have left the royal family. And to be honest, that clarifies a lot, because Harry frequently appears to be hearing things for the first time as well, even when Meghan says something outrageous. Either he's the world's most encouraging spouse, or he's coming to terms with the fact that he exchanged royal duties for an uncontrollably wild public relations circus. It doesn't help that Meghan's purported evidence frequently backfires, as demonstrated by the hospital video she released in 2021 to demonstrate that she gave birth to Libet, but everyone soon saw that the royal location didn't adhere to pandemic regulations. At the time, hospitals in California continued to enforce stringent no-visit policies. However, Meghan moves like she's in a music video as she dances in the corridor. During the same month, Gayle King, one of her few surviving allies, went on television to discuss how heartbreaking it was that her husband was unable to attend their baby's birth because of CO procedure. How then did Meghan film at a hospital? Because the answer changes each time, folks are sick of hearing that question in a hallway with a full crew and no mask. That's the reason why people are turning not a slander campaign by a tabloid. When you start paying attention, the fatigue of trying to keep up with stories starts to fall apart. And now that the succession is in jeopardy, this might be the last time. Before the monarchy decides to write Meghan out entirely, she has the opportunity to tell the story. Buckingham Palace is experiencing a quiet storm that may have reached full-blown retaliation mode as a result of Meghan's recent shenanigans. Rumors circulating from behind the palace. Gates indicate that the royal family is getting ready to make a long-rumored but never confirmed move, removing Lilibet and Archie from their positions in the line of succession. But at some point. According to reports, the strategy is currently being expedited, and it's out of necessity rather than retaliation. Despite all of its shortcomings, the monarchy is based on reputation and heritage, and Meghan has turned into a walking liability. The phony pregnancy wasn't the only thing that caused the royals to lose it. Charges or the dubious video editing. It was the implication that the crown was involved in collusion. Meghan attempted to involve the institution in her story rather than merely rewriting it. That escalates the threat to a whole new level, since it would harm not just her but the entire royal line. If people began to think the palace had concealed a phony birth, every protocol, every heir, every custom begins to resemble theatrical, and the company won't tolerate that. What many have been muttering for years is being confirmed by royal specialists. Meghan played her hand too much. They gave her a duchess title, but instead of easing into royal life, the palace let her to turn every gesture into a grievance and every luxury into a soapbox. Worldwide brand, they allowed her privacy, she sold it to streaming services, and now that she's used every possible explanation, she's left them with just one option: stop her before she destroys the entire structure. According to insiders, there has been a change in the way the palace is treating Harry, the once adored spare, and he is no longer receiving the same level of protection. The presumption, it used to be that he was just in love, but after years of witnessing him nod in agreement with one chaotic claim after another, that sympathy is eroding. His relationship with his family, particularly William, is hardly surviving, and if Meghan's actions continue, the palace may soon decide that protecting Harry means keeping him apart from the chaos, rather than making it possible. Additionally, a new form of public pressure is growing. People are starting to pose serious inquiries. Why do several different versions of the same child appear at comparable ages in official footage? And why is there virtually no authentic video proof of Meghan's pregnancy in public during either term? Netflix uses B-roll and silhouettes a lot. Why is it that the more people search, the less they discover? It seems like a smoke and mirrors effort, and that's causing even more conjecture. Meghan previously stated that she quit acting to work for the royal family. However, which career was truly sacrificed? The film credits dried up. The only attention she's received, if anything, came from her royal title, what I had for years. She still portrays herself as the victim of a system that provided her with more than she ever deserved. Despite this, the system is now getting ready to revoke what little is left. The succession plan is not a part of the Constitution, and Meghan misread everything about the monarchy if she really believed she could throw bombs at it and still keep her kids in the crown. The palace has been restrained for years, but now that leash appears to be very short. Meghan will have no one to blame when they do act. Not even Harry, not the staff nor the media, just herself.